Hey everybody, I am Tyler Clark. I am the CEO and co-founder of Village Book Builders. And the reason why we wanted everyone to listen to this is a project that about a month ago we had been growing by leaps and bounds. But Brett, one of our co-founders, pulled me aside and was like, Tyler, we really have to focus on a key problem. We really have to know what we're trying to solve. Because before this, we had presented to a number of sophisticated donors and foundations, and the feedback we got was our problem we're trying to solve was too broad. Ending the cycle of poverty. There's so many dynamics that come to the cycle of poverty, right? Trying to give kids hope. Well, there's so many different areas of that. And in what age group? What school? Is it outside of schools? Is it economic development? There's such a broad area. So, me and Brett and a number of our staff, we started researching from the locals, from the local principals, from the local professionals in this area to really find out, all right, what is the biggest problem? What is something that we can meaningfully make an impact on? Things that you would do with the resources that we have. So as I go through this, I'm going to be going through what that is and what our focus is going to be going forward. Now, as I talk about this, the main purpose of that is to focus what we're doing. One of the biggest problems with humanitarian groups is what we call scope creep. So they try to do too much, or they come in and build a library, and then the people ask for a well, so they build a well too. And then they ask, hey, can you also help us with livestock? So they start doing livestock, right? The point is we want to focus on one thing, laser focus on that one item, something that we can move and make a significant difference. And that is what we will focus on. And we will let other organizations work on the other parts. But this is something we feel can make a meaningful difference in the lives of every kid we are connected to. And not only that, it is something that is grossly needed in these areas. The amount of suffering and pain that is caused due to this problem, and what it results in, and how it is bringing so many of these countries and keeping them in the poverty trap is just atrocious. Let's go through this. All right. So VBB's mission, this really isn't changing, right? We all got into this to the point we wanted to help these kids have the same opportunities that we grew up with, the opportunities that have changed our lives. We want them to experience the same thing. We want them to see the hope in their eyes as they open up their first book, the ability to really empower and change their lives. And as it says here, we are a nonprofit organization empowering villages around the world to drive change and end the cycle of poverty through education. Education plays a big role in the development of a community, and building a library is just the first step toward creating a space dedicated to learning. By providing tools to measure academic improvement and continue encouraging education through online mentoring, we're able to connect children to a brighter future. We call this Hope Through Books. This is our vision. It's really not changing, but this is what's changing. This is the problem that we're going to be focused on going forward. And this is school dropout rates. Okay. In Africa, 42% of kids will drop out of school before they ever get to primary school. In Uganda, 68% of kids will drop out before they get to primary school. In rural Nepal, upwards of 50% will drop out, mostly girls. In rural Latin America as well, 20% of kids will drop out. Every year that these kids are able to stay in school, it will increase their income by 10%. If we can just get them past primary, we will have doubled their salary, what they can earn, which will bring them out of the extreme poverty area, which once you're in the extreme poverty, you just can't get out. And I can go more in detail with that, but what I want to do is, these are percentages, and I know it's shocking in a way to say 68%, but here, when we think of dropouts, we tend to think, oh yeah, just staying home at school, or he's going to the arcade, or things like that. That is not the case in these countries. And I'm going to share with you guys the problem and the real face of what happens when these kids drop out, specifically girls. Typically, we don't like to share these specific stories just because our message is based on hope. And we want people to really see the amazing, incredible, inspiring stories. But at the same time, these are harsh, real realities that these kids face, these girls face on a daily basis. So let's talk about it. So school dropout rates. The girls that drop out, their percentages in their course of going into becoming child brides goes up. Extreme poverty, sex trafficking, teenage pregnancy. There's a community in Uganda that 35% of the girls that are 12 to 13 are already pregnant and married to a man much older than they are. But specifically, I want to tell you about a story that we've heard. Shoma, who lived in a village in rural Nepal, northern Nepal, she got to the second grade, hadn't fully learned how to read or write, and was taken out of school because her family couldn't afford having her and her brother go. And they decided that the boy was more important to go to school than she was, so they took him out and they were getting her ready to marry her off to a much older man, which she did not want to do, being only 13 years old. But there's not a lot of hope for a future for a girl that's uneducated in a rural community. So that's what she had. And one day a man came through her community, talking to the local girls in her same circumstance, telling her, hey, come with me to the city and you can become dishwashers and you can make $2 a day instead of $1. Come on, come with me. It'll be a new life for you. And since Shoma and also her friends didn't really have any other opportunities and they were all about to be married and become child brides, they said, yeah, let's go do it. So they did. They went. But as soon as they got to the city, the man who had trafficked them there told them that they owed him money for bringing them there. And the only way they could pay him off was being sold to a brothel. Shoma says that on that first night, when she was raped multiple times, and they would tie her from hand to foot, and they would whip and abuse her in order to get her submissive. And she endured this for a number of months until her and some of her friends tried to escape and run away. But because they couldn't read any of the signs, they were quickly recaptured and brought back. After a couple of years, an NGO came in and took these girls out of the brothel and was able to get her back home. But as soon as she got back home, the problem was her community, because of the stigma tied to prostitutes, and because she couldn't marry any reputable family, was turned out of her own home. And because she was already addicted to meth, she soon returned back to the brothels. Many years later, she was finally able to come out. But this is the living hell that so many girls will face if they drop out of school. When we say 68%, that's the number of girls that have to go through this, girls and boys, right? This is the real story. And as like I said before, I hate talking about these stories. They're really hard for us to hear. But at the same time, as an organization, we have to understand what school dropout means. When we hear that and we're trying to change that, this is what it means. Preventing girls like Shoma from ever getting caught up with sex trafficking. Stopping girls where they get shamed because of their menstrual cycle, and so they can't even go to school, right? Girls that get raped because there's no safe bathroom facilities at their school, so they end up, because they're pregnant, they get kicked out of school. Parents who view that they only have enough money and the schools are so poor that they're going to take their kid out of school so they can sell them to become a teen child bride, so that way at least they can have their son go through school. These are the number of issues that we're looking at of how to solve and how to fix. So we spent a lot of time talking with a number of our program directors, principals of different schools in Uganda, Zambia, Ghana, Mexico, Nepal, to try and understand more what are the causes of this. Now, as you can see, this is what we call a fishbone diagram, with the problem on the left and the causes that cause it to the right, right? And everything is categorized by different areas. We have the economy. Parents can't afford school, no job opportunities. Culture, boys more important to educate than girls. Education, not important. Menstrual and sex education is shunned. Government, students unable to travel the distance to schools. Poor infrastructure. Corruption makes it difficult to run schools. Rape is not punished in many of these areas. Students, kids don't want to go to school. They're disengaged in reading. They don't see the payoffs. Plus, the schools are terrible in a lot of these areas, right? And I'll get to that in a second. Teen pregnancy as well, which has to do with insufficient menstrual training and also sex education. Different areas, shame towards girls. Menstrual period and public shame towards girls as well. As soon as they hit their period and start going through a natural cycle, they're shunned in their school. And a lot of times their parents give them dirty rags because they don't know, and they end up getting sick and infected down there, right? And plus, most schools don't have bathrooms. They just have a field, and that's where you relieve yourself in the tall grass. Schools, like we talked about, repeating grades. The teaching is so poor, and also the class size on average is 75 students to every one teacher. Because of that, the students don't get the attention that they need, the individual help, and so they end up repeating grades. And after a while, their parents decide, well, I'm taking you out and I'm selling you to the man down the street, become a child bride, because there's really not an opportunity for you to help the family another way. Inadequate facilities like bathrooms with parents. Parents believe it's the government job to educate their kids. They're not engaged in their children's parents. Broken homes. AIDS has ravaged a lot of these areas where there's a lot of areas where both parents are dead from AIDS. So the kids are raised by their grandparents or an uncle or an aunt or even adopted by a neighbor, right? Uneducated parents. A lot of times these parents, they dropped out at second grade. They feel uncomfortable helping their kid pass that because they can't help them with their questions. And they're okay with their life making $1 a day. So why don't I have the kid come and help me with the farm? I don't really see the point. I don't really see the hope of the schools, considering the schools are so poor. The job opportunities with it, it's a pro-con analysis. What do I do? So as you can see with all of these, the economy, culture, and government, these are 3 areas that we are not equipped to handle. But the parents, guardians, students, and school, these 3 areas, this is something that we can really make an impact. We are equipped, we have the talents, the resources, and the ability to make a difference on those 3 areas. And Hummus, to the right here, I want to introduce Kasifa, Hummus, and Christopher. These were the 3 main people that really helped develop this cause, what's going on, why is it doing it, and also our potential solutions that I'm going to be talking about here in a bit. Just to talk a little bit more about them. Kasifa, the top lady there, Kasifa ran away from home at about 16. She moved in with a man, started getting pregnant and having kids, got kicked out of school around that time. It wasn't until later on in life that her brother really encouraged her to go back to school to educate, and she did. She got her nursery certificate, and now she has her bachelor's degree. Now she's a principal of a school, right? Teaching girls in a low-fee private school in her area to really help those kids to improve their lives and be educated, right? Christopher on the bottom there, he's our Africa director. Christopher was born in just the worst poverty, where he had to go door to door to his neighbors just to get scraps so they could have 1 meal a day. Even to this day, when I was traveling around in Malawi, he would eat 1 meal, and I never saw him eat more than that, right? But he had such a yearn to educate, to learn, and he knew he wanted to learn good English. So he would go from dumpster to dumpster, finding used batteries, putting them on the windowsill to heat them up. I guess that helps. And then put them all together so he could listen to the BBC. And he has amazing English. He sounds like a BBC announcer. And he's been able to get himself with his bachelor's degree. And now he goes around and helps us develop more schools and reach more areas. Hummus, last one. He grew up in absolute poverty in Uganda. His mom believed so powerfully in education that she would go to the headmaster and plead with the headmaster, please keep my kid in school. I don't have the money to pay you, but please just keep him in there. And he did. And he went on, he got his master's and PhD from England and the United States in economics and education. He came back, and now he is over all of the educational projects within Uganda. He works on this on a daily basis. This is what he does, trying to decrease the dropout rate and trying to increase the participation rate and increasing the ability of schools to teach. Okay? And they're the ones that helped formulate this plan. All we did was listen to them, put down the causes, and then with them brainstorm on these three areas: student, school, and parents. And the VBB focus will be in the center of all three of them, bringing them together with our libraries, with our mentors, and with our expeditions. Everything will bring the students, get them excited, have it fun and engaging to have them there. The libraries, a beacon, a lighthouse to the community to bring them to the library, which will be connected with the school. So that way they come to school, they learn from the school because the library is a warm, inviting place, right? And this is our focus. Everything we do will be in the center of this, to bring the school, to make the schools better, right? To help train the teachers, to give them the resources they need to succeed. For the students, helping them so they want to be at school. They love being in a school. They love to learn. And a large part of that is the libraries, the mentors, helping us, the school become better in their teaching methods, using the library on a regular basis to really engage and help these kids develop the thinking skills and the critical reasoning that they're going to need to be successful in their lives. And that's what they want. Kids are naturally curious. They want to learn. And we're going to provide that through our VBB approach. And the parents, we're going to invite them to be a part of it. We're going to have them meet the mentors, right? We're going to let them see all of the amazing things and the amazing potential that their kids can develop by staying in school. We're going to let them know if you just have them stay in school, they will double the amount of money they can get, which is worth so much more than a single freaking cow. Just keep your daughter in school, and it will help her to make more and do more for your family than selling her as a teen bride ever would, right? And through that, we can really move the ball with these dropout rates. Here are some possible solutions. Now, I bring these up all with a caveat. These are things that we have reviewed with Hummus and Christopher and Kasifa, and they believe by doing this, it should have an impact. But we're still going to test it out. We're going to measure it. We're going to pilot it to make sure this moves the ball down the field, that we decrease dropout rates. So let me go through them real quick. Parents. Invite parents to join a mentor session with their child. This one act of letting them meet the mentor, see what their kid are doing, will help the parents see the significance and the importance of the mentor program and help encourage them to keep letting their kid go to school and help to continue motivating them that education is a worthy sacrifice for them to continue their children to do. Have monthly activities at the library to help parents see the importance of education and the resources available to their child at the library and school. An idea we've had is to show the boy who harnessed the wind, to let them see the potential of books, right? To let them go into the library to see the beautiful walls, the beautiful paintings, the beautiful books. Anyone that's ever been to one of our libraries, they're warm, they're inviting, they are amazing places to be, and they're safe. And it's a place that when the parents see it, they'll know they want their kids to be there. And we'll help to encourage them and let them see the potential that the education will have with their kids. School, monthly teacher training done virtually through other NGOs. We have communicated with an NGO out of India, which is amazing at helping local rural teachers teach with the resources they have, enough to really engage the kids' minds. And these are things that there's lots of NGOs like that. And because of how our libraries are set up, it can all be done virtually. Add bathroom facilities and solar panels to each library we build next to schools so they can also be used by the school. The girls, in order to stay in school, they need a safe place for sanitation. They need a place where they feel safe, and the first step is having bathrooms. Also, I know we're used to the easy luxury of a light, but you have no idea the difference having a powered light. It could mean the difference between an extra 2 to 3 hours of study, or to be able to actually see your books in those dark classrooms, right? And the solar panels are going to help do that. Plus, make sure that the books and computers are well resourced. Libraries and computers will be open to all school children inside and outside the mentor program. We will continue to make sure that the library is open to all school children so they can come. Other schools can come and use it. There will be one primary school over it, but something we want to be open to the community. Most of these villages only have one school anyway. The library and mentor program will be fun and engaging, so it will attract students to come regularly. Teach mental health and sex education by training local teachers and seeking input from teachers. This is one we're still looking at how to do because we have to deal with in the current culture in these communities. But we want the training, we want the education, and we're looking at having Days for Girls come in and teach us virtually, or train a local teacher on Days for Girls, and they can approach the community in the way they know will work best for them. The last thing I want to go through is this model, right? The problem, that is the ball we are trying to move, which is school dropouts. We want to get it down to single digits. We want to get it down to 0, right? And we feel by doing that, we can keep all of those kids away from the horrible realities which happen to girls and boys that drop out of school. That's not going to change, right? And our focus for right now is, and this isn't going to change until we get this good, but it's parents, student, and school. That's our primary focus. But the solutions of how we engage parents with the program, how we engage the school, how we engage the students, we're going to learn. We're going to build a minimal viable product. Then we're going to measure it. How did that work? Did it have the desired results? Did it decrease the dropout rate? If it did, we'll keep it, maybe improve it, have it go through the cycle again. If it didn't, we'll throw it out and we'll try something new until we get so good at this that every community we go into, we will instantly drop down the school dropouts to 0. That is our goal, and that's what we want to become the best at. We will be the best at school retention, keeping these kids in school and developing the type of individuals that they go out into the world and they change it enough that the whole community sees. Did you see what Shoma did? Did you see what Praise did? Man, they're teaching at the university now, or they're a doctor. I'm going to join the mentor program and I'm going to go to school. And that way you have this residual domino effect that is happening within these communities. Anyway, as we go on with this, your leaders are going to be talking more about how you and your group are going to be focusing on the Village Book focus, right? We're going to be revamping everything we do, so we are laser focused on school dropouts in these 3 areas. We're right in the middle of those 3. Everything we do is going to be revamped and look through that lens. Some groups might have more changing than others, but the point is, I want you all, and I challenge our whole organization, to look at everything you do and see if it's moving that ball down, which is school dropouts. Is it changed that? If it's not, we stop doing it, we throw it out, right? If you have new ideas of how to make it better, we want to hear those ideas. We want to keep improving. We want to learn what's going on in the field, what's actually happening, right? Then we want to build it out. Then we want to measure it, okay? If it improves it, let's keep going, okay? But our tactics, our methods are all going to be revolved around keeping the parents, students, and teachers centered and together and working together. I know it's a cliche saying, but honestly it does. It takes a village to raise a child. And that is what Village Book Builders is all about. Thank you everyone for everything you're doing. I know you hear me say it all the time, but you are literally saving lives. From the stories that we've heard, I can't tell you how many times I've been in tears listening to real stories of what's going on in these communities, especially during COVID. It has just devastated these communities beyond what you can imagine. And the one source of hope in these areas has been the mentor program, have been our libraries, which, because of heroic efforts from these different program directors, have been able to stay open, and maybe different modified forums to keep down the groups. But we'll have kids waiting outside because these kids have no other educational resources as soon as these schools are closed. They have nothing. So all of the tragic things that I talked to you about before with dropout has been happening, but this time with 100% of the kids. And the mentor program, what we've been doing, has been the one source of hope for these kids to continue their education and be in a safe place where they can continue it. Anyway, thank you so much. If you have any questions, please reach out to me directly at tyler@villagebookbuilders.org. And this is what we're going to do. And we are going to build this organization to such an extent that every single kid in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, potentially the United States, will have the ability to hope for a better future and to end the cycle of poverty by staying in school. All right. Thanks, guys.